This is the OnePlus 6, and I've been using the OnePlus 6 for about 4 months now, and I've been thinking about making this video for a really long time. It just kind of got pushed around, pushed here. I started filming some other things, a whole big mess, but finally I'm getting to make these videos about the OnePlus 6, and let me tell you, it's actually been kind of cool to have so much time with the phone before I made these videos, because it gave me a lot of time to get used to it, to understand it, to, really, it takes time to kind of find everything out about a phone. Even phones I've used for about a year now, I kind of still feel like I'm discovering new things. So it was kind of cool to have a longer term experience before I made this pro-con kind of video. So this is a two-part video series. This is the first one where I'll tell you guys what I don't like about the OnePlus 6, so the cons. And in another video, the second one, it's going to be why I love the OnePlus 6, what things I like about it and why you should buy it. So right now the OnePlus 6 is 4 months old. So at this point the phone is almost through its life cycle. In another few months we're going to be getting the 6T. But I think it was a really good time right now to just kind of look at the phone and see what it didn't do well to kind of improve onto the next one. Starting off, I'm going to say this because I get so much hate in every video about when I make these kind of videos. I like the phone. I'm only pointing out some things I like that I don't like about it so that it can be fixed in a future video. If you guys feel the need to harass me about it in the comments, don't, because I'm done with it. If there's not constructive comments or somewhat of a reasonable discussion that you're trying to have, I'm going to delete comments, because I've had too much of negativity in these comments, and I'm not going to talk about that too much anymore. So let's get right into the phone. And the first reason, number one, why I don't like the OnePlus 6 is because of the display. Now, the obvious kind of quip would be that notch, but surprisingly, the notch didn't bother me as much on this phone. Reason number one would be it's not that thick, it's not that tall. Yeah, it's a very small notch, and that kind of didn't bother me too much for some reason. I was really trying to hate that notch because I don't like notches, but honestly, it kind of faded away even more than it did on the iPhone 10. On the iPhone 10, you can notice it a lot more for some reason, but on this, the notch really doesn't come to too much of an issue. So why I have a problem with the display is the resolution. So the resolution is still pretty low, especially for a screen size that's this big now. I really wish that we had a display bump, especially with resolution. The AMOLED looks good, but resolution, just if you're coming from an S8, S9, anything with a little bit of a higher display resolution like I have, you can see right through it. If you're coming from a lower one, obviously you're not going to notice it. That's why you might be saying that the display is more than enough for what it is. I agree it's enough, but at the prices we're paying now, I feel like a display bump is definitely in order. Number two, now this is also something that I wanted to hate, but I can't, and that's the glass back. Now, I don't hate the glass back, but why I'm mentioning this here is because even though they gave you a glass back, they did not give you a wireless charging capability. Now, I know that people have beat this point to they've beat this point to death, but the reason that I'm mentioning this is because this phone is very apparent that they're kind of preparing for the next big one. So they didn't include some features that they very easily could have to save it for the next version. They didn't include stereo speakers when they easily could have. They didn't include wireless charging when they easily could have. And it was very apparent to me from the announcement of this phone itself that they were holding back for the OnePlus 6T because they have this really small refresh cycle. So they have to keep some features, on tap for the next phone, because they can't, then there's no reason for you to buy the new one if there's not anything in it. So that's the thing I'm not very happy about with OnePlus. So, there's a lot of that going on in this phone, which was very apparent to me. So definitely an issue with me was that there is no wireless charging. Also, now that we've moved to glass from aluminum, it is not as durable as it used to be. So with the aluminum, it was a lot more durable. With glass, obviously, if you drop it without a case, it's going to shatter. Companies say all this stuff, how they have the strongest glass. It's very strong. It's not going to break, but it's glass. So if you drop it on a hard surface, there's a good chance it's going to break. Number three, the price. So OnePlus started off entirely because of, it really took off because it had flagship level performance for a very, very nominal price. Now, the thing with OnePlus's strategy is every release, they increase the price by $30. So $30 it doesn't seem like much. So if you paid $300, $330 is like fair, it's fine. But the thing is, over the last releases, every 6 months with a $30 increase, it's become quite a lot more expensive. In fact, this special edition phone that I bought, the Avengers Edition with 256 gigs of storage, cost me $650. So that is knocking on the door of the flagship. It's $100 less. And it's not as big of a difference when you compare it. Right now, I know that some flagships are up to 1,000, but not all of them. You can still get flagships like the LG G7. You can get the S9. You can get previous year flagships for the same price. So it kind of becomes, it is a thing with me. The price, I feel like them increasing it consistently has kind of been a problem because they didn't add the features to kind of follow suit. They're always kind of holding out on you. And every 6 months, a new phone, every 6 months, a price bump. It's just, I don't see to what extent they can drag this onto. And this is more of a criticism of the company than the phone. So I understand why they need to increase the price. I still understand it's very competitively priced, but if they keep increasing the price, to what end? You know, to when are they going to keep increasing it? Are they going to stop at some point? Or are they going to, you know, just make this into a full-blown flagship as well? That's what I'm trying to kind of figure out here. And if you guys have any ideas about that, I'd love to hear your thoughts about it. Where do you think OnePlus should stop with this price band? Should they stop increasing the price? Or do you think it's justified? So that's definitely something I do consider to be not so good about the OnePlus 6 right now. Moving on, number 4, and that is the lack of a stereo speaker. So right now, almost every phone is getting a stereo speaker. That's kind of been the trend the last 2 years. Everybody's moved to stereo speaker setups, and it's really essential at this point because single speakers just don't cut it, especially the one on the OnePlus 6. It's not powerful enough. It just doesn't feel as good. It doesn't sound as good, and they could have easily implemented this. Everybody just makes their earpiece louder with this one. They don't create true dual speakers with two really equally sized speakers anymore. So it could have been easily done, but it was very clear, as I told you guys, they didn't do it because they needed something for the next version. So I can guarantee you the next version of the OnePlus is going to have dual speakers, and I just wish they kind of included it in this one because it's a really good feature, and I really wish this phone had it. Number 5, the size. So, I mean, I understand this is a 6-inch phone and it has a very large display, but I feel like the size isn't really worth it. It's become way too large, and while I can understand how a lot of people can enjoy that, to me it's come to the point where I can't comfortably hold this phone for too long now. It's just way too big, and when you put a case on it, it becomes even more difficult to handle. And I mean, I don't have small hands by any measures. I have fairly large hands, but still, I kind of feel like the OnePlus it's pretty big. I mean, there's no way I can comfortably reach to the top with one hand. And even considering just holding the phone, it is pretty big. It's large. It's slippery as well with that glass back. And it's just, I mean, I don't know how you'd fix this. It's just something I didn't like about the phone. Number 6, the fingerprint scanner. So why I don't like this fingerprint scanner is because of, 1, the location, and 2, it's smaller. So one thing about the location is it doesn't feel too bad, but I feel like it's a little bit too, it never just fits right. I feel like it's just a little bit too high for me. Where the logo sits, I feel like that's the perfect spot. For the fingerprint, I always have to kind of move my fingers up just a little bit to get there perfectly. And this wasn't an issue previously because the OnePlus 5T1 had a larger fingerprint scanner, and it was a little bit lower as well. I can understand why they did this. It looks a lot cleaner with the way it's designed now, but it just doesn't fit right for me. And that brings me on to the next issue with this phone. That's number 7. That is, we no longer have fingerprint gestures. So with the OnePlus 5T, you had fingerprint gestures where you could use the fingerprint scanner on the back to bring down the top menu and to kind of swipe it away. But with this, those gestures no longer work, and this is not a setting that's been disabled or anything. It's just, it's not compatible with this fingerprint scanner anymore. I don't know why they didn't do it. Samsung has the same, a similar sized fingerprint scanner, and they're able to do it, so I'm not sure why OnePlus didn't do this. I looked into this as well to try to see if there was a way to enable this after the fact, and really there isn't. The only thing people have been able to do is, you know, create tap shortcuts. There is no like the swipe one where you just swipe from here or swipe it up for the control center to come up and down, which really really sucks because it was there in the 5T, and I really like using that feature because it is impossible to get up towards the top, especially because of how high this display, how tall this display is now. Getting up all the way to the corner it's just not easy anymore. So you have to shimmy the phone up, or you have to use a second hand. It's just, I don't see why that shortcut wasn't included. Definitely something that should be in the next one because it just adds convenience, and that's something that was there previously, so I have no idea why it's not there anymore. So that's it, guys. That's a wrap for the things I don't like. As I'm telling you guys, it was hard to come up with these things. There's just not much to not like about this phone, and similarly, there's just not much to love about it either. It's a good phone that I feel like there was just a few things here and there that need to get improved upon, and I really hope the 6T does fix these, and I'm looking forward to it. Honestly, to be very frank with you, I'm looking forward to the OnePlus 6T more than I am to the iPhone. So that has to tell you something. I really do think this was an interesting phone, and I do like the design. I do like a lot of things about it. So I'm excited to see what OnePlus will bring to the table this year. So let me know what you guys think about the OnePlus 6 and these issues that I've pointed out. Have you felt the same things about it? Do you agree? Do you disagree? What do you guys feel about these? So if you haven't already, guys, please consider subscribing to the channel if you enjoyed the content. It helps me out. It gives me motivation. And I really appreciate the support you guys give me. So thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.